up guys, and welcome to another video in Kinetics. My name is Elam, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a spool wind-up toy. So a spool wind-up toy is basically you have a spool, or basically something that holds in either rope or wire, something that you can see like maybe at a hardware store or something that holds basically wires or chains or ropes, and then you basically use some elastic substance and it's gonna roll by itself basically. Like it's just a wind-up toy. Like if you're bored or want to do something that you can do. You can do this with a tiny spool or some toilet cardboard. You can use like a toilet or paper towel cardboard tube, but I want to spice things up a bit and use a big spool to see if it would work. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. That's what I'm going to be showing you guys today and see how it works. So since this is a big spool, what you're going to need is, of course, the big spool, and you're going to need an old bike tube for like a ruptured bike tube works, something like a bike tube that you don't need anymore. A piece of wood. This is like probably about between 2 and 2.5 feet. It just depends on how big your spool is, but as you can see, it has to be bigger than the radius of your spool. So as you can see, it's much bigger than the radius of my spool, so it works. And then you need another piece of wood. In this case, I'm using a stick for the other side to stay in place right here. And last but not least, I have this spacer, which is literally a top off of a garlic container that I used a soldering iron to basically make a big hole in, so that way I can fit the tube through. And you'll understand why later on. So let's get started. So what you're going to need to do first is you're going to take your bike tube and you're going to fold it in half. Since this spool, the width of this spool is less than half the size of this bike tube. So I'm going to fold it in half to make sure there is more elasticity when I basically wind this thing up and let it go. So instead of just folding it in half like this, I'm going to kind of cross it over like this, so it makes this kind of figure 8 shape like this, and then fold it in half. And then this is probably going to be the hardest part of this project, is going to be to fit it through this small hole and make it go out to the other hole of the spool. So I'm going to try to do that now. I'm going to make sure this is kind of flat and as narrow as possible, so I have as little trouble as possible fitting this through the hole. Also, one thing you might want to note is that, as you can see, there's a little bit of air in these tubes. Just press down on the needle with something like kind of sharp to let all the air out. That way it'll be just a little bit easier for you to fit the tube through. And then once you did that, try fitting the tube through. So I have to look up, I have to look down under the spool to see if I can get it. I got one, but I didn't get the other one yet. Finally got it. And it's fully through, so I'm just going to make sure that this is arranged like this. And the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shorter stick and I'm going to place it through this loop right here. Also, I made sure to put the shorter stick on the side that had the bolts, because this spool is really helpful because it has these bolts, so that way when I put the stick through, and it's going to be flat against here because there's going to be a force pulling it the other way, it stays there and it doesn't move, which is good because you need one side that doesn't move at all and the other side that is able to move. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to put it through kind of in the center, and then I'm going to go to my other side. I'm going to pull it, and I'm trying to pull it as much as I can. Now it's really, really tight. So then you have this part of the tube that's still outside. No worries, that's completely fine. I'm just going to try to make it as even as I can. Next, you're going to take your spacer and you're going to put it through these two, the bike tube, to be flush against the spool. The reason for this is when you have the stick, this is going to prevent friction between the stick and the spool, therefore making the spool turn faster and smoother. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just put it through like this. Make sure it's as flush to the edge of the spool as possible, and once you have that there, now we have this loop here, and we're going to put our stick through. I'll just move it here so you guys can see a little better. So what you want is you also want the stick as flush against to the spacer as possible, and you also want a little bit off. You don't want it to be right in the middle, because then it's going to slip off. So you want to leave at least 2-3 inches of space so that way it stays there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to twist this, twist the tube like this, and then kind of basically tie it around this piece of wood. It seems a little loose, but it'll do for what we're trying to do. So yeah, it'll be okay. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rewinding, which is going to store a bunch of energy, and then when I let this go, the energy is going to be released, therefore causing the spool to spin forward. So what you have to do is you have to spin this thing multiple times. So now it's like that. I'm going to test it out, see if this thing actually works. Put this on the ground like this, and as you can see, it's moving a bit slowly. It's starting to speed up though, because it's basically releasing all that potential energy stored inside the tube, and it's converting it to kinetic energy. But if you wanted this to go a little faster, you have to rewind this thing. So as you can see, it stopped there. So what I can do is now I can kind of basically walk it like you're walking a dog or something, and then you just roll it up and down like this. I can feel it getting kind of tight. Alright, I'm going to let this thing go now. There we go, it's moving faster now. Now we're talking. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a spool toy. For little kids, you can also make this, like I said before, with cardboard tubes. You just glue 2 pieces of cardboard, cut them out into circles, glue them, and then use this kind of same type of concept to make this spool. So you're not limited to how big or how small it is. This is proof that you can also make this creation bigger or smaller. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out all my other videos. Like, share, comment, and hit that big red subscribe button in order for me to keep posting more videos, and hit that notifications bell to keep up with all my latest videos. And as always, thank you for watching.